So I must say that sitting together just now for maybe 10 minutes, it was very beautiful to experience the profound silence in this room. And maybe you never really think about silence very much. It seems like it would be very easy to be silent. But this silence that happens here tonight is a different quality of silence to the kind of silence you get in a library where it says, big sign says silent, no talking. Because this silence comes when you make a decision to go inside, to be interested in inside. We don't always notice, but we're profoundly almost hypnotized, but certainly it's a strong habit to always be looking on the outside. Maybe you don't even notice that. We're always looking on the outside. We're looking usually for somebody who will make us feel good. Perhaps somebody who's going to love us. And we're maybe looking for something where, we can get something. We might want to get an ice cream, because if we get an ice cream, it tastes really good, and then we feel a bit happier than we did before the ice cream. So we're always focused on the outside. We're always looking on the outside. And for most human beings, they never really consider any alternative. But there's a profound possibility, which is to start to look inside. And as you start to look inside, there's a long journey, a deep journey inside. And as you go on this deep journey inside, the quality of silence changes. So what is a very simple kind of silence when you just stop talking, which is already quite a big step, because we have the habit to talk, of course. So even deciding not to talk is a big step. And if you try to do this, if you tend to talk a lot, you decide not to talk, you'll discover it's quite difficult. We've always got an impulse to relate, to connect with somebody, some situation. So we automatically talk a lot. And the problem with talking a lot is that this activates our mind. And when I say mind, I'm talking about the part of the mind which is connected to a kind of amazing archive of old stories. Yeah? So you start to talk about something, and the mind pulls out of the storage system some old story, which you just have to tell in that moment because it's such a great story. So then you tell this story, yeah? And maybe you then even get emotional from the story. From your own story, you can create some kind of feelings inside, either very nice feelings or very terrible feelings, yeah? So these feelings, you then get emotional. So not only are you talking a lot, but you're also getting emotional, and that basically puts you into a kind of drama. You can say drama. And this is how we do our life. We tend to do our life. We stumble from one drama to the next drama. You see, and maybe we don't notice this because it's so automatic, and everybody else around us is doing the same thing, that we think this is life. This is what life is. Why not? Everybody's doing it, must be right. But unfortunately, when we live our life in this way, we stay very much on the surface, very superficial. And by making a decision to go inside, and then making a decision to become quiet, we are on an amazing journey. And this journey takes us to know ourselves, to know who we really are. And this is something you can't easily talk about, you can't easily put words to it, and probably many of you have had some moments when that happened. And you know what I mean about a profound silence, because when this happens, suddenly you're in a completely new reality. It's completely different from the everyday life. Suddenly, in this new reality, you meet something that generally we're not very familiar with. Here in this community, you can say we're more familiar because we've chosen. A lot of people have been here for several years and have chosen to make the discovery of that deep, true nature their main priority in life. So for many of us sitting here, this is not so unusual, and for most of us sitting here, we know this, and we're actively welcoming this. But this is not a typical situation. And the effect of this situation is that when you come to your true nature, you discover your true nature is an amazing energy we can call love. This is not the romantic love of I love you. This is a deep, energetic love which you discover is your true nature. We can also call it the divine wisdom of the universe, something like the divine wisdom of the universe. Because when you fall into this true nature, into this love, into this divine wisdom, then each moment is unfolding in your life. You don't have to really do much. Things just suddenly happen. And you feel the rightness of these things that happen. And you feel in each moment when these things happen that it doesn't matter so much what is happening. In this possibility of going inside, you come to this space which you suddenly discover is something you already knew. It's something very familiar. Somehow we all know this. And unfortunately, because of this habit of looking out, we've kind of forgotten. Maybe we get some moments, some glimpses. Maybe we've had some even strong glimpses when for a few moments or maybe even a few hours, possibly a few days, we felt this extraordinary silence. And this silence is something we can recognize as a characteristic of our being, just to be. And maybe as I'm saying these words, you can feel inside how simple that it all sounds. And actually it's very, very simple. Reality is that if we don't do anything, then we're there in this true being, in our true nature. But it's almost impossible not to do anything, because we're so conditioned to do a lot, even to be spiritual seekers, seeking something that we think we don't have, when all the time this is our true nature. And this true nature reveals itself when we really do nothing. So it was very touching tonight, after the mantra singing, it was very touching to feel the depths of silence in this room. This is very undramatic. It's very kind of ordinary. It's hard to really talk about. It's hard to make it sound exciting. But this is probably the most exciting adventure that any human being can decide to go on. Because this is the adventure that takes you to your own true nature. And when we come to this true nature, we discover, amazingly, that this is not a personal true nature. My true nature is the same as your true nature. The true nature is all one. And we discover, amazingly, that we are all one. We're not many. It appears that we are many. And that's what's so beautiful about sitting here tonight and feeling the depth of silence in the room. Because when we take the time to sit together, we somehow fall into this pool of consciousness. And then the individual me, which we're so addicted to, somehow just disappears.